Join me today as I dive into another book I recently read, Orb, Sceptre, Throne, a novel of the Malazan Empire by Ian C. Esselmont. Orb, Sceptre, Throne is the fourth novel in the series of the novels of the Malazan Empire by Ian C. Esselmont, set in the expansive Malazan universe co-created with Stephen Erickson. This is also the first of Esselmont's books that was published after the completion of the 10-book, what many think of as the core series, Malazan Book of the Fallen by Erickson. So that wraps up in 2011. This book comes out in 2012. So we're truly now advancing beyond that other story and telling more and digging deeper into this world created for Malazan. I loved this book, even more than some of those 10 books of Malazan Book of the Fallen. Here's why, without giving too many spoils in case you haven't read it yet. First of all, we return to the setting of Darujhistan, which of course we met in the 10 books of Malazan Book of the Fallen, but we didn't get enough of. This is a fascinating city on its own continent of Genebakis, and these cities, these free city-states that the Malazan army was trying to take over, Darujhistan being the last one that basically held out and wasn't exactly conquered. Kind of came to an accord and understanding with the Malazans. Darujhistan is that fascinating city known as the City of Blue Flames, which basically means they light their whole city with natural gas, something not common in other places. But it's got many unique individuals that we've met in other stories who now come back into our novel enjoyment because we're back in Darujhistan. And we're going to learn so much more about this city here. One of those kicks off with the discovery of an ancient vault outside the city. A scholar unearths this sealed vault, and something ancient and magical, and what some might describe as evil, is unleashed. It triggers a series of events that massively disrupts the peace of Darujhistan. In the end, I'd say actually probably leaves things in a better place than it started, but that's for the reader to decide. We also get more political scheming going on in this story because Darujhistan likes to see itself as free. And the Malazans are a reminder that perhaps they're only free because the Malazans are too busy to really bring their full might against them. So there are some who would really like to see these pesky Malazans gone, and we get more intrigue, more intentional scheming going on to try to make that happen here. And there's a real risk in the story that that will be the case. I really enjoyed the return of some familiar characters, some who were amongst my favorites in the early days of reading Malazan Book of the Fallen. For example, Krupp. We get more of Krupp. What a unique and deep character. There's so many layers to this character, and we still don't know everything there is to know about this guy, but he's amazing. And then there's the bridge burners who survived and went into hiding, basically. They got out because of all that they had done and all the prices they had paid over time. Dujek One Arm allowed them to just kind of disappear. Technically, they're kind of AWOL because that was never put official in writing. We've enjoyed them at times before. Now we've seen them go through tough times, but there are still a few of them still remaining, still running a bar in Darujhistan, and we get to enjoy them again. But one of them, Ansi, went off on his own adventure, and this story includes that whole theme as he and a few others are exploring Moonspawn. The fragments of Moonspawn that remain floating outside of Coral, where it went down into the water at the battle against the Panyan Seer and all those forces in one of those books of Malazan Book of the Fallen. You know, we know it went into the sea, it's been destroyed, but it's not all gone. There's stuff that can still be found, perhaps, and of course, plunderers are trying to make their way there, and, well, Ansi, who's at first going by Red, just a different moniker. He's not acknowledging who he really is is on this adventure that goes very much sideways and yet has some amazing reveals in the course of the story that I think will continue to build into what Esselmont is bringing to bear. So I really enjoyed that element of this book. And yet, that's really a side story throughout the whole thing. The biggest element of Orb Scepter Throne is again what's happening in Darujhistan, which ends up involving the Segula, which are amongst my favorite groups of characters in all of Malazan. We met the Segula, this mysterious warrior society, back in Malazan Book of the Fallen, but here they are on full display, and we learn so much more about them, about what makes them tick, about the way they operate as a people, and the prophecies that drive them, the history. I mean, we learn amazing history that ties them to Darujhistan. Thus, we've got some fascinating things that happen here involving the Segula, the Malazans, the Moranth, the ones who make the munitions that go boom. They're tied into all of this. And we get, well, not shockingly, some explosive events as we get near the end of this book. All of these things come together to make this just a fun, fascinating read in the world of Malazan. And again, one of my favorites now. Definitely ahead of some of the books of Malazan Book of the Fallen. Hands down my favorite of the 4 Esselmont books I've read so far. And I didn't even mention how we get a few other key characters who have been originally in Malazan Book of the Fallen, moved over to the Esselmont books, and come and play some key roles here in this book to have just, whoa, big changes. The 2 that perhaps are the biggest for me here, Traveler. If you know who that is, great, but I'm not going to spoil it. If you're reading this book and you read the others, you know who it is already. But how he ends up, yes, that was amazing. And then the return of Taishran. Yeah. But a new and improved Taishran? A changed Taishran? Well, to be determined. But that's a fascinating character. I was sad to see him out of the story, so it's great to see him in. All right, that's where I'll leave you here today. Absolutely loved Orb Scepter Throne. Just drives me to definitely want to continue reading the Esselmont books, which I am doing. I've just started book 5, Blood and Bone. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked this, be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, we invite you to do so. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.